Hey folks, I'm back here with this picture here. I'm planning on putting some inks on it, but first um, we need to do a few corrections. There's a few things looking at it that are a little off balance, a little out of alignment here. I have some of this commentary over here on the left-hand side open because some people ask me questions. I can't really answer on YouTube itself because all Google Plus stuff is disabled. Uh, or I keep getting some message that Google Plus features or blah 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 whatever. I swear to God, Google is so. Anyway, what I'm getting at here is you can kind of see her waistline there, and it's out of line with her breast line here. So I just want to pull that back into alignment a little more. You can see this one's a little bit lower than it should be. And I think this leg line needs to be extended out a little bit more here. But first I wanted to cover some of these questions here. And also say that Google's interfaces just suck. Like their website, how to manage stuff, how to manage what's wrong with stuff, it just fucking blows. It's kind of like what happens when engineers design web stuff, interfaces that normal people have to use, and they just fucking suck at it. I remember dealing with engineers. Like I had a friend of mine who would program, and he was very good at programming, but his user interfaces were just strictly from hunger. You know, they just sucked, and it was kind of amusing, you know, because he never could. He knew where everything was, and anyone else, who kind of had a technical background might be able to figure it out more easily, but normal folks, no. And this is kind of, I guess it kind of gets to what a lot of people dislike about a lot of hardware, what I think keeps a lot of people away from it. And without getting into sort of, the religious debate between platforms and whatever, I think it's what keeps a lot of people working with Apple products, because as a company, they actually try to design things that are easy for anyone to use, whether it's a salesman or an accountant or someone who doesn't just eat, breathe, and shit computers all day, or, artists, whatever. So, but yeah, anytime I try to go to Google's website to manage an account feature or something like that, it's a fucking hassle. And I don't know who designs their shit, but I could almost be, say like, every time I've had to manage an account feature with Apple, it's always like, here it is. It's in exactly where you would have guessed it to be. It's a simple matter of checking something, and boom, you're done. You can get on with your fucking life. It's not like when I go to Google's website for managing an account, and it's kind of like, yeah, it seems like it should be here, but it's not. It's in this other space. And then, well, where the fuck is it, and then you try to find something, and, oh, you don't have the permissions because of this, and I'm like, oh, I'm just ready to, I don't know. Anyway, so what's wrong with, why can't I engage in comments on there? There's some problem, and I'm not even going to try to find out why, when I can just address the questions here. So, without further ado, someone asked, and I don't know what happens. I guess maybe all of us artists seem to kind of blend together sometimes. But someone asks, or Falco with a cat smiley face asked, what's with Lovely Pets Chapter 2? And I have no idea what you're talking about. I have never done a project called Lovely Pets. Maybe you're mistaking me with someone else, or maybe you're misremembering the title to something I've done, and you need to figure out what it is before I can even begin to address your question. And then someone else asked sort of the basic common question, and it kind of happens when you have a lot of comics, and he wants to know what happened to Nikki after she appeared in Better Days, and honestly, I don't know. Characters come and go. I have a lot of them that came and went in my comics, and once they stop appearing, they move on. I kind of don't think about them anymore. So I don't know what happened to her. I don't know what she's doing. I'm assuming she's had a good life and she's built it and she's, got some therapy and everything's fine. So there you go. But I'm not going to revisit gazillion-year-old characters all the time. So, all right, I think we mostly got her squared away. Here, as far as the sketch, and I think the ground, or not even the ground, just the foliage in general, should be really low because the camera is sort of like almost down at, you know, a little below knee level actually. So, okay. All right, now I'm going to go in and do some darker stuff. Now, make another layer here. One of the things I like is, I mean, you can work with black, and I probably will work with black for this one, but you can alter the values of the lines and make adjustments to the darkness and whatever. And now that I'm done with these questions, I'm going to go ahead and just close this window out. But yeah, they're basically just brush lines. In fact, I've even thought about doing the shading and coloring first, and then after the coloring, just sort of defining the edges. And I may do that for a later thing, maybe something I'm not filming. And right now this is almost a little bit new territory for me because I'm basically just figuring out what the flow of the brush I'm going to use is, and I want to try to use a thin line thinner than I normally use. And I'm just going to play it by ear here. Probably just go a little bit more here. Take it up to 30. I don't have it set to solid black. It's kind of more of a really, really dark, intense gray. And I want to kind of have thin lines on the lighted edges, and then have thicker lines for the where lines converge and stuff like that. And I may even set the lines to multiply when I color, so some of the color kind of bleeds through the thinner spots of the lines, which is what I do when I normally go in with the pencils, and or when I normally draw with pencil, and then I'll scan the pencils in and then just work around the pencil lines. Now I do clean up the pencils a lot. And I'm also working at a higher DPI than I normally work at. I'm working at 400 here at a large, than my 17 picture. Whoops. What am I looking for here? I guess that's what I'm looking for. I don't know. I'm so used to being able to drop out a layer and still see it because I normally work with pencil lines. So this might be a boring section to watch because I'm probably going to stay zoomed in a lot. And yeah, I am just working in Photoshop. I'm working on a Mac, and so I don't have Psi available and all its, you know, nifty stabilizations and jazz like that. Go ahead and make these darker areas here. when I do kind of get a lot of practice with this, sometimes inadvertently, because more often than not, when I draw something by pencil and scan it in, I end up making little corrections anyway, and I'll do so by rendering these kinds of uh, these kinds of digital lines anyway, and no one seems to notice. No one seems to be bothered by them. They don't really seem to clash or contrast too severely. Um, um, so I'm guessing it's fine. If I was ever working in like black and white, like if I did a comic like this, which could be another step, is working digitally with a comic. Um, I would probably I'd probably work with just a straight black. Um, I'm not even sure if this will work out because of how the color is going to bleed through. Like I'm still kind of just, this is mostly experimental, so we're going through this experience together. We're holding hands and we're facing the challenge, and we are going to see how this comes out and if it's going to be a disaster or not. Okay. I think I'm going to save the freckles for coloring. Do I want that shadow there? I'm not sure. I have a feeling if I set this to multiply before I do my colors, and I do my colors underneath these lines, they will sort of take on part of the characteristic of color, or at least a darker version of it, which could be a good thing. This is normally a phase that I consolidate when I do pencils by just simply erasing the sketchiness of it and sort of redrawing the pencils in the lines that need reworked. So yeah, I don't do like silky smooth, vector lines or anything like that. I should probably find the time to practice and expand my skill base, but I've got a lot on my plate lately. There's so much stuff I want to do, and I just don't have the time. Success is like a double-edged sword because you end up with a lot of, you end up, of course, being successful at what you love doing, which is great, but then you also end up with a lot of obligations, and you have to keep meeting them, or else everything you've built will kind of melt away a little bit, or it can at least. Okay, let's make this dark right here. Whoops. Save often. I had some weird crashing problems with the video capture stuff that I do this on. I use a software called Debut, which has been pretty good. It's been pretty rock solid so far. I think I had a weird crash last time where it failed to close, or it closed on its own, or maybe I failed to close it. I'm not sure. And it gave me this weird warning message. Okay. So yeah, I guess if you do ask me questions here at YouTube, just know that I will not be able to send a comment reply, but I will probably address it in the video itself. The next time I do a video, at least. So I guess if you're really curious, look for the answer to your questions. I have a feeling people contact me in all these different areas, and they get involved in different aspects of what it is that I do. Different websites, you know. I'm kind of scattered. People who know me on for Affinity may not know me on, or may barely be aware that I do Patreon. People who know that I do Patreon may not really know what I'm doing anywhere else. People may not know that I'm on Weasel. Sometimes I get questions, hey, do you have a Tumblr account? It's like, yeah, I do. It's out there. It's jrnaylor at tumblr. Whatever. And it's just a place it's just another place where if I want to share something with just the public at large, I'll put stuff out. Okay. Now, what will eventually happen is these sketch lines underneath will get taken out, and then can go through, and if I don't like any of these lines, or if they're weird, there's like a weird fade there, or whatever, then I can go in and sort of mess with them, I guess. But you know, this is just kind of to sort of get hooked on, these are the lines I'm going to use. This is the placement I'm going to have. So I was a little apprehensive about going to YouTube, but I think it's actually good to spread yourself around. Sort of, okay, I want to maintain, you know, obviously if it takes you like an hour or two, whenever you do anything, you have to upgrade every little thing, then obviously you may have too many accounts. But it is good to sort of stay reasonably active on numerous places so that people can stumble into you, people can keep up with you more easily, and they'll have many, many, many excuses to know what you're doing, and they won't just, you know, wonder, you know. Some people don't like, you know, for Affinity, and I'll be honest with you, I do not blame them. I can say that I think a lot of people are a little, I don't know, they may be unfairly harsh to Fur Affinity, but I do know that it's at a place where no matter what they do, they can't do anything right. But they kind of got to that place on their own, and they kind of messed it up for themselves. And you know, there are simple little features that normal sites have that they don't have and would be extremely useful. I've been saying for a long time, back in, I think it's like 2007, God, that's so long ago now. You know, I would say things like, you know, I wanted to grab a placeholder there, and so I used the name Fisk, and it's the name of one of my characters. It's not me necessarily, you know, I don't really have a persona or whatever you call it, And in fact, my involvement in furry is just sort of grandfathered in from the fact that therein lies my fan base accumulated over decades. So most people who know me from that, and I don't mind it. It's actually it's a good fandom. I was talking about it earlier. It's one of the few fandoms that where people really are interested in what you're doing, you know, as opposed to they just want you to draw this industry character. They just consider you like a printing machine to draw like something that they like, you know. They're actually interested in your projects. They're interested in your characters. The fans themselves have characters of their own that they want to get commissions of and things like that. So you're drawing a lot of original stuff in the fandom. But that being said, it is a little stifling when it's all you're known for, you know. And how many people will even, give a damn about this because it has a human in it? The people who don't care about, like, I've run into these people and I don't understand them. Someone who is a furry, and that's cool, but if they can't get into something because it's got humans in it instead of furries, I don't get that. I don't understand you. I probably never will. You're weird to me. Okay. Like I could take any one of my comics, with the exceptions of the ones that have humans in them already, as just different kinds of people. Any one of my comics that just has exclusively furries in it, I could replace all the characters with humans, and the comic would be just as interesting to me. It may not be as interesting to other people because they like critters and whatever, but I guess I've kind of grown past the point where that really matters. Kind of had this discussion today. Someone was talking about. Had a friend of mine who does a podcast. He does a really good podcast, and I'll go ahead and give a shout out. It's stupid. It's called Stupid Popcast, and it's spelled STOOPIDPOP, as in pop, like a balloon, cast. And he talks about comics. He talks about video games and VR. And he has his friends join him as co-hosts, which is really cool. And he had a buddy on. He has this VR rig in his house. Our friend Chris, and his latest podcast was about their VR experience and how cool it is. And Chris didn't once mention that he was into, like, he mentioned he works on cars, which he does, and all this other stuff, but he didn't mention he was a furry, and I kind of mentioned it a little bit, and he's like, yeah, I guess because it wasn't that kind of show, and I'm like, that's cool, but someone else, mentioned, yeah, I didn't mention I was a lizard, so why would he mention he's a raccoon, and it never occurred to me that to be a furry was to be an animal, as in my character is a blah, or that means I am a blah, or it's an extension of myself, or whatever. To me, it was always just, you're into something, you have an interest in something, you're into a fandom, whatever however you consider it. It never occurred to me that it was an extension of your identity. And I guess, I don't know, when I first got involved with it, it kind of wasn't, or maybe it was, I don't know. I never met people who were that into it. I guess I never really associated with people who were that into it. I've always just had friends who were normal folks. So... I don't know why I do these hash lines. Just sort of a holdover from drawing, I guess. But yeah. Okay, that'll do. I don't know if I want to maintain these median lines. I'll see how it looks with and without them. think I lost my train of thought talking about the fandom for a minute. Oh well, if it was important, it'd come back to me. If this inking goes quickly, I may throw in some shades before the video is over. I didn't actually get a good start timer, so I hope it doesn't go too long. I try to keep them around 30 to 40 minutes. That's what I did in my last one. The last one I did was the picture of Charlie and her brother, and I did that one intentionally to make like a video, mainly to share with Patreon to sort of be an introduction. And let's see here. Oops. Should probably try to work with finer lines. They always just get a little fat when I'm working with them. For some reason. Okay. She kind of filled out. All right. I'm wondering if I should even do the background today or just keep it really, really kind of simple. All right, let's go to here. It's always important to remember that clothes will pinch in the skin. Even if you're in shape, they will. And all these lines are going to be destroyed when I do the nude version for Patreon anyway. So anyway, about Patreon, some people are like, you know, hey, I'm sorry I can't support you, and I totally get it. I understand. You don't have to like apologize. We all have our lives and our priorities, and in fact, it's perfectly fine for people to acknowledge that they can't. I actually had people who probably shouldn't be supporting me because of the condition of their life at the moment. And I've actually told them, I said, look, you know, if it's so on the wire, you know, if your month to month is that messed up, you know, you should probably just cut your obligations. You know, don't set aside money for this. This is a frivolous luxury. I fully recognize that. Because I've had people who are like, oh, you know, as soon as the money comes, I'll pay for the thing and the blah, 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 blah. I had a problem with my account and something happened and I'm like, dude, you know, it's just fucking furry art, man, you know. It enhances your life and I'm grateful for everyone's support, but, you know, do not forego bills, do not forego priority, do not struggle in order to give me money, please. You know, I'm not selling food. I'm not selling gasoline. I'm not providing you with an apartment. This isn't rent. You know, I've even had some people who, like, I have a $50 tier on Patreon, and some people just seem to kind of be running out of ideas. And I've told them, I've said, look, if you're out of ideas, cancel, cancel your pledge, or go to a lower tier and let someone else grab this, because there's a lot of people waiting in line. Those sketch commission pledge tiers, they go quick. Like, as soon as they're open, someone jumps on them right away. I mean, it's really incredible, and I'm very flattered when it happens. Just do that. I'm wondering if that edge isn't too fat. Maybe. Damn it. There's still a little weirdness getting into drawing on a tablet and having it not be the surface where the line's actually appearing. I may someday invest in, like, a Cintiq or something, I don't know, but digital drawing would have to become a much greater part of my life, which right now it just isn't. I'm still not at my greatest comfort level with it. So. Although I really should. I mean, it is really better in the long run. I know that. Let's do another seam right here. I'm not really sure if bikini bottoms have a seam right there, or if that's just mainly panties. I haven't really examined them that closely, but I'm going to leave that there. We're going to go in here. Wow, I really half-assed that knot when I sketched it, didn't I? Alright, that's okay. We're going to wing it. Whoa. But yeah, I might think about investing in a Cintiq if I'm going to be doing this on a regular basis. Up here like this. Darkening where these lines connect can kind of add some depth. Haven't really had time for video games lately. My weekends have been pretty monopolized. I don't even know, like, I started that whole, like, just that whole Drunk Sheila thief build thing on on Dark Souls for fun. And I don't even know if I'll be able to finish the game with that or not. I don't even know if this is what a knot would normally look like. I'm just sort of half-assing it right now on this one. Okay. Bring the skin in, and now we'll draw the straight part here. I need to upgrade my computer. It's starting to struggle a little bit. I upgraded my gaming PC. I mean, I have priorities, but my production computer just, it's one of those things that as long as it's getting the job done, yeah, there's no real pressure. Although, eventually it's going to start having problems. And I'm thinking of upgrading to 5K, but I mean, I'm really kind of afraid of how things are going to look. I know it compensates for a lot, and I know like Adobe's been ready for that forever, but I still kind of worry a little bit. Although I saw some 4K stuff that looked decent. I mean, it compensates well for it. I just want to make sure that like what I'm doing, there's nothing that makes an artist lose sleep more than this looks great on my monitor. What's it going to look like on when just regular everyday schmucks look at it on their shitty computers with their shitty monitors? You know what I mean? And I hate to put it that way, but it really is true. Every now and then, when I have the rare inkling to look at my website or something on my gaming PC, I always sort of make a face at how it handles color. Because it's a gaming monitor, it's not like super color perfect. Apple really does a good job with getting their colors on and getting the monitor. The monitors are like super awesome all the time, which is why they're fucking expensive. They don't skimp on that shit, and it really shows. So I'm putting together something that looks good on my stuff, and everything looks correct, and then I go to something else and I look at it on something else and it's like, oh, damn! How do you live like this? How do you cope with color of this shittiness? So okay. There we go. The bane of any artist's existence who's not using any kind of stabilization or anything, who's freehanding all this crap, is these big, long, arcing, curved lines here. And because you wanna just sweep your hand in one big motion, and then once you do, it's very easy to get off course and completely. The line ends up over here or up here or whatever. And then so you may end up with a line that's much darker than you really want it, which I may have done. So you want to kind of go in, if they say in the movie business, fix it in post or whatever the hell. Like that, I guess. I don't know. I also do this bad thing where I have a tendency, even though this is kind of an up angle for the character, so I have a tendency to kind of elongate legs, and I try to break myself of that habit. And it's not easy, especially when you kind of worry about the legs being too small, and then so you end up overcompensating a little bit. And it's a bad habit. And I tend to make calf muscles too big if sort of left to my instincts or if I'm drawing something quickly. And it's a bad habit to get into. I've got some kind of fuzziness over here. So yeah, if you saw her head on, I would definitely probably not have her legs be quite that long. It's kind of funny how when it comes to sort of idealized beauty, long legs are psychologically associated with sex appeal. In fact, if you look at fashion magazines, 9 times out of 10, the model in there has had her legs digitally elongated. In fact, most fashion photos are digitally edited anyway. It's really obvious, especially when you know what to look for. If you study the human body, you kind of know what proportions there are and what proportions work and what proportions are really outrageous. People who focus on parts as opposed to the body as a whole might not be able to pick it up right away that something's been edited because they're just focusing on the part that the editor wants them to focus on. You see it a lot in there's this weird sort of there's like this rash of photoshopped female butts on the internet. Someone takes a picture of a very attractive woman with a very nice rear end, and he'll Photoshop her to make her absurd. Like the waist is like inhumanly small, and people don't notice because they just see they let their subconscious mind see it, and then the ass is way too big, and you can tell it's been stretched because it is at a lower resolution than the rest of the photo, or it looks like it. And it just looks ridiculous. Like nobody's built that way. And it was the same way. Fucking what's her name? Kim Kardashian. Her whole break the internet photo was a photoshopped piece of shit. No one has a waist that small with an ass that big. It very obviously looks edited. And it even looks edited to the point where when it looks like too much, when it looks grotesque, when it looks unnatural, that's when it stops being good for me, really. This is kind of weird because I often do go in and lighten lines anyway after I color, which I'll probably do with this one. So as solid as these lines are, I'll probably be going in and making edits before finalizing this picture. And if you stick around long enough, you can probably see that process. Still a little dark, but I guess that's okay. Okay, so make sure line. Actually, if the lighting is above her, which I think it should be, then the hardest shadow of her button should be up here. And then this should be very light. There we go. And I'm just going to close the circle. Great. Okay, let's check for big obvious errors and problems. This is a 16%. This is a 25%. It's probably not going to be this big, but it's a good way to look at it. And this is just going to be me being nitpicky. it's funny, I'll see a lot of images that other artists I really admire, they'll do them and they'll look great. But then when I get in and analyze them, I'll see all these little nitpicky things that I never would have noticed just casually looking at the picture, that I would have spent all this time changing, that really didn't need to be changed because it was okay to leave it the way it was. But I don't know if it's some kind of weird OCD or what's going on, but it's probably just me being overly, concerned. Like things like this, you probably won't even see at the picture's final size. Let's do like a. There seems like here. Just put some random. I don't know if that's right. I don't think it is. I'll put one right down the middle. Okay. Now, what I think I want to do is, I think I'm going to make a layer underneath this ink layer to do the background, and then I'm just going to use probably the polygon tool and then just kind of hope it works right, kind of like how I envision. Probably could have come about this a different way, but actually, I really should do like this. It's too thin. Let's go with a 10. Yeah. Okay. Go like this. Now we'll do the shower head. I'm not really doing perspective lines. I'm kind of just doing them sort of in my head as I'm going. Like I'm not making it super precise or anything like that. So there's nothing like, if you extend the canvas out, are the lines going to converge perfectly? I don't know. I think the more you do that kind of stuff, the better, I think the better your instincts get about it. So, do I want to draw every little tiny every little tiny line, every little tiny dot to represent the nozzle? I guess I should. I mean, even though it might not be perfectly uniform. I suppose a better artist would probably have some quick shortcut way of doing this, but the better artist I am not. I should probably use guidelines or something, but no. okay. Do some sort of token J-nailer foliage here. Spiky leaves that mean nothing. Here we go. And maybe, just maybe, we'll just Bob Ross a little fucking flower right here. Yeah, that's right. There we go. So most of this will be sky, and you know what? I need to. I'm so used to having a pencil. I'm gonna really thin these out so they don't look like big doofy, like super stylized toon lines, even though I do have a toon style. Shrink that brush a little bit. Okay. Okay, let's do some implied tile work, just for fun. I love implied tile. It's my favorite kind of tile. Shouldn't be quite that severe. Oops. One of the problems with trying to tile this whole thing would be, and this is a matter of time and energy, is keeping the lines completely in perspective and keeping them completely locked in with the lines that the character has. That's something that can just be so easily messed up. So if I kind of have these lines here, and these lines will converge slowly, I kind of have a horizon line down here that's going that way. So it would be, yeah. You would kind of have to keep them a little consistent, or else it would just look, off. And if you've ever seen an image with perspective that's just off, it's something that it looks off to the eye, but if you know it's the perspective, then you see it right away and you can tell exactly what's off. But to everyone else, it just looks kind of, there's just something weird about it. And I've seen pros make this mistake. I'm actually reading through the Walking Dead comics right now, because I'm just looking at the way they're drawn. I'm looking at them and I'm comparing them to the TV show, and it's kind of interesting, the pacing that's like kind of like way different in a way. it's kind of funny to look at. But there is one drawing in there, and he's a great artist. You know, I like the way he draws stuff a lot. But there's a one drawing in there of Rick leaving the hospital, and the perspective's a little fouled up, and it's just kind of like, oh, that's such a common thing to do. It's kind of amazing. Um, but I love some of the scenes where he has good direction. It's almost like a filmographer. You know, the paneling is great, the pacing is great. Um, it's really interesting. I finished reading the first collected book series, and it's like it seems to be deviating a lot from the TV show. It's like, oh my god. I'm not going to spoil anything. If you ever are interested in picking them up, I'm sure they'd be pretty easy to find. Okay. These would be a little more straight on. Maybe a little bit bigger. In fact, I should probably come out. Okay, I'm guessing this probably has taken a little bit, so probably won't get to the shading with this video, but I'll definitely be doing it with the next one before we dive on into color. And I'll probably fix those lines up later after I get rid of the sketchiness and stuff like that. So, all right, guess we're looking okay. Let me go ahead and let me just erase. Okay, just erase that line over her head. Okay. All right, I'm going to save that up right now, and I will talk to you guys later in the next video. I will just go ahead and start shading it up. Thanks. Bye-bye.